I was 17 when I realized what it felt like to be invisible in your own home. That evening, I walked into the dining room thinking it was my birthday dinner. The smell of roasted garlic and cedarwood candles hit me first, my favorite combination. My mother knew that. She always lit those candles on my birthdays since I was a child. But that night, those scents weren't for me. They were just there, floating above a table that no longer felt like mine. There were 12 seats around the table. 11 were filled. And the one empty chair wasn't waiting for me. It was for Chloe. Chloe, my cousin. Younger than me. Smaller, prettier, softer spoken. Newer. Better, according to my mother. She sat there in a pale blue dress, hair pinned up perfectly, giggling at something my brother Marcus was saying. I stood there at the edge of the room, holding a small gift bag I'd bought myself from a discount store earlier that day, hoping someone, anyone, would notice me. No one looked up. Not until Chloe spotted me. She gave a little wave and tilted her head in confusion, like she was seeing an unexpected guest at a wedding. "Oh, you're here," she said softly, almost like an apology. I didn't know if she meant it kindly or not. My mother glanced over then, her dark eyes scanning me from head to toe. Not with warmth. Not with guilt. Just cold calculation. "I didn't think you'd come," she said flatly. Her tone was empty. "This wasn't really meant for you." I swallowed hard. My throat felt like it had been scraped raw with sandpaper. Still, my voice came out steadier than I expected. "Why is she sitting in my place?" Marcus didn't even pause his fork midair. "You're not on the board, Nora. Haven't been for a year. Dad updated the will. You should have read your emails." I blinked at him, my mind spinning in circles, unable to land on a single thought. "What, Will?" I whispered. No one answered. Chloe reached for the bread basket, avoiding my gaze. My mother just poured herself another glass of wine. The smell of Chardonnay mixed with cedarwood made my stomach twist. "Let's not ruin the evening," she sighed, as if I was nothing more than a stubborn fly buzzing around her perfect dinner. I didn't say a word. I turned and walked out, still wearing the gold bracelet my dad gave me when I was 13. It had one word engraved on it, legacy first. I used to think it meant I would carry our family's name proudly. That I would continue what they built. That night, back in my small bedroom, I opened my laptop and tried to log into the Family Trust portal. Invalid user. My own name didn't work anymore. And that's when I realized they weren't ignoring me. They had erased me. Like I was a typo in their perfect story. For 9 years after that, I didn't go home. Not for Christmas, not for my mother's birthday, not even when Marcus got married. I was folding napkins at the back of a banquet hall in Boston when it happened. It was halfway through a double shift. My back ached, my feet burned from standing 12 hours straight. I was folding white linen napkins into neat triangles when my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. But then I glanced down. Subject line, Bellamy Foundation Gala, Final Confirmations. I nearly deleted it right there. But some muscle memory forced me to open it. I guess part of me still craved to see my family name. Even if it burned every time. There she was, smiling from the glossy flyer attached to the email. Chloe. Wearing a navy dress that used to be my mother's. The caption said, "Honoring Chloe Bellamy, Future Director, Youth Legacy Programs." And underneath her perfect smile was her quote. "Our family believes in shaping leaders through unity and tradition." Unity. Tradition. I almost choked on a laugh that wanted to claw its way out of my chest. I scrolled to the bottom of the email out of habit. There it was. Something strange. Nora B. Archived mailing list. Someone had checked the wrong box. Someone had left a door open. I printed the flyer that night. Folded it neatly, slipped it into my bag like evidence, and went home. My apartment was dark and cold. I didn't bother turning on the lights. I sat on the edge of my bed, still in my catering uniform, holding that printed flyer like it owed me something. I pulled out an old manila folder I kept hidden under my mattress. My roommate once asked if it was my tax returns. Not quite. Inside were digital printouts, scribbled notes, screenshots of trust documents before they blocked my login. And a photo of me and my grandmother, the last woman who said my name without flinching. My hands shook as I flipped through page after page. Then I found it. A letter addressed to Miss Nora Bellamy from Bellamy Legal Office. Dated 8 years ago. Unopened. I tore the envelope open with trembling fingers. Inside was a draft amendment to the trust. 2 versions. One with my name crossed out, and one where it wasn't. Stamped. Not finalized. Still legal. I should have closed the folder. I should have gone to sleep. But then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. They're going to name Chloe as heir at the gala. Your name's still buried in the paperwork. Figured you deserved a chance to speak before they bury that too. JB. My chest tightened so hard I felt like I couldn't breathe. JB Jeffrey Barnes. The family's old accountant. Fired the same year I vanished. And just like that, the silence cracked. At sunrise, I drove to Vermont. The roads were quiet. Pale morning light spilled across empty fields and frozen lakes. Once upon a time, those sunrises meant ski trips with hot cocoa and family photos for the Christmas card. Now, it was just cold light cutting through the cracked windshield of my old Honda Civic. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I didn't have to. The land remembered me even if the people tried not to. Instead of driving straight to the gala hotel, I went to the lake house. My grandmother's cottage still stood there, lonely and untouched. Technically, it belonged to the foundation now. But no one touched it. She'd left a strange clause in her will. This house shall remain untouched unless opened by someone who knows where the photo frame is cracked. And I knew exactly where it was. Second frame from the left in the narrow hallway, just above the old mirror. A photo of us. I was 8 years old, wearing her pearls, holding her hand. I slid the photo out of the frame. Behind the cracked wood was a folded note taped neatly. If you're reading this, they've tried to erase you. But you are still a Bellamy. They don't get to decide who holds this name. My tears blurred the words as I read them over and over again. Tucked inside was a small brass key and an original copy of the Bellamy Trust. My name was there. Bold. Legal. Intact. I didn't want a new dress for the gala. I wanted the dress. The midnight navy one my mother wore when she cut the ribbon on the Bellamy Foundation's first building. The one I used to see in a newspaper clipping hanging in my childhood room before they replaced it with Chloe's framed awards. I found it at a high-end vintage consignment store in town. The owner gasped when I pulled it from the back rack. Oh, this is one of the originals. It belonged to the Bellamy family. I smiled softly, feeling the fabric between my fingers. Yeah. I know. She told me it used to be Chloe's grandmother's dress. I didn't correct her. Because technically, it was mine now. I rented a tiny room 2 blocks from the gala venue. No valet, no room service, no grand entrance. I wasn't walking in through the front. Instead, I called in a favor from a makeup artist I'd once served wine to at a Boston fundraiser. She owed me. That night, she made me look like memory itself. Not modern. Not trendy. But familiar, like an old photo someone shoved in a drawer but couldn't bring themselves to throw away. Before leaving, I tucked two things into my small silver clutch. The printed copy of the trust clause with my name. And my grandmother's folded note. I looked at myself in the mirror. Not to admire my reflection, but to say goodbye to the version of me that thought silence was safer. Because tonight, I wasn't coming for an apology. I was coming for the microphone. I arrived at the gala just before sunset. The sky was painted in streaks of indigo and crimson, like someone had torn open the horizon. I didn't walk in through the red carpet. Instead, I slipped in through the staff entrance. A waiter held the door open for me. He didn't ask my name. He just nodded slightly, like he felt I belonged somewhere important, he just couldn't remember where. That was the point. Inside, the ballroom was glowing with crystal chandeliers and the muted chatter of powerful people congratulating themselves. Gold trim lined the white tablecloths, and the scent of lilies mixed with expensive perfume. It smelled like forced elegance. Like secrets hidden behind silk dresses and polished cufflinks. I moved between tables like smoke. No name tag. No seat assignment. But eyes followed me. Some people squinted, trying to place my face. Maybe from an old-school yearbook. Maybe from a faded newspaper article their parents once framed. At the welcome table, I picked up a gala program. Chloe had an entire page dedicated to her, rising leader, mentor, inherited vision. Her smile was so practiced, I almost admired her dedication to pretending. Then I noticed the legacy wall. A hallway lined with framed photos of 3 generations of Bellamys. My mother as a young woman. Marcus in his lacrosse uniform. Chloe in her prep school blazer, looking like she already owned the world. And then I saw it. One frame hung slightly crooked. The brass plaque read, Bellamy Children 2009, Family Day. But the photo inside was wrong. Too much white space on the left side. I stepped closer. Whoever edited it had cropped me out. But they didn't do it carefully. The edge of my dress was still faintly visible under the glass. I reached behind the frame and felt something tucked there. The real photo. The whole photo. Me in the center, holding Marcus's hand, Chloe leaning against my leg like a little sister. Someone had drawn a red X across my face. I didn't cry. Not even then. I took a photo of it on my phone, slipped a small USB into the AV laptop behind the stage curtain, and walked away. If they wanted to erase me from their program, I'd just write my own chapter. The gala's lights dimmed at 8:19 p.m. Chloe stepped onto the stage in a white satin gown, smiling like a princess accepting her crown. The crowd applauded softly, polite thunder rumbling across the ballroom. The MC leaned into the mic. Tonight, we honor a new generation, a woman of grace, vision, and the Bellamy name in full. The screens flickered for her presentation reel. Except it wasn't her reel they saw. First, the screens turned black. Then a voice filled the silent room. My voice. Calm. Clear. Undeniable. Some of you know me. Some of you were told to forget me. Heads turned. Some gasped. Others just stared, mouths half open, champagne glasses frozen mid-air. My name is Nora Elise Bellamy. I was born into this family. I was raised in this room. I ate at that table. Wore that bracelet. Earned that scholarship. And then I was erased. Behind me, on screen, the old family photo appeared, unedited. Me, standing in the center, beaming. Then the version they replaced it with. Cropped. Redacted. Soulless. Whispers rippled through the room like an approaching storm. Then came the trust document. My name. My legal status. Uncrossed. Valid. Binding. I stepped onto the edge of the stage, the spotlight catching the navy blue of my dress, my mother's dress. You cannot erase someone and still keep their legacy, I said, my voice trembling only slightly. You cannot silence a child and call it unity. You cannot fake tradition on top of a broken truth. Someone started clapping. Slow at first. Unsure. Then another joined. Chloe stood frozen, her note cards trembling in her manicured hands. My mother sat stiffly at her table, white-knuckling her wine glass so hard I thought it might shatter. I didn't wait for permission to continue. I'm not here to take anything, I said, breathing out all the years I held my voice silent. I'm here to remind you, it was mine all along. Silence. But it wasn't empty. It was heavy. Alive. Louder than any applause. Finally, my mother stood. She didn't rush. She moved with slow, rehearsed grace, like she was still in control of the story that had just been ripped from her hands. She stepped up beside Chloe, one hand resting on the podium, the other clutching her pearl necklace. Nora, sweetheart, she said, her voice smooth and brittle at the same time. This isn't the place. I met her eyes. Then where has the place been all these years? I asked. She pressed her lips into a tight, practiced smile. We can talk after the event. Let's not make a scene. I smiled back at her, soft and sad. You already did, I whispered. You just weren't expecting me to show up in it. Behind us, the screen still showed the trust document. My name. Legal. Stamped. Undeniable. Then came a sound no one expected. A chair scraping against the marble floor. A man stood in the back. Jeffrey Barnes. J.B. The family's old accountant, exiled when he asked too many questions. He held up a thick folder in his wrinkled hands. The Foundation's books don't lie, he called out. But people do. And I've kept copies. My mother paled. Chloe snapped, her voice sharp with panic. This is slander. She's just here for attention. I didn't flinch. I'm here for truth, I said. Attention just followed it in. A woman near the front stood up. Then a man near the doors. Slowly, applause began again. Not for Chloe. Not for legacy. But for justice. For a girl who came back to claim her name. And justice doesn't come with hugs or polite smiles. It comes with files. With receipts. With names. I walked off stage to 100 eyes watching me, not as a ghost, not as a mistake, but as someone they could no longer deny. The next morning, my phone rang before I even poured my coffee. 11 missed calls. 9 from my mother. The first voicemail was calm. Nora, it's your mother. Let's not let last night get out of hand. The third sounded tight and angry. You don't understand the pressure we were under. Your father, he thought it was best for everyone. By the sixth, her voice cracked. You're not the only one who was hurt, you know. I didn't reply. My sister Sarah sent a message instead. No greeting. Just a PDF attachment. A cease and desist letter. Apparently, reclaiming your name was now considered defamation. Chloe, she didn't go legal. She went to Instagram. Posted a photo of herself in a stark white suit, captioned, "Legacy isn't stolen. It's earned. We rise. We don't beg." Hashtag Bellamy strong. Thousands of likes poured in. One pinned comment read, "Funny how some people show up only when there's money involved." That was from my cousin Ethan. But none of it mattered. Because 24 hours later, an anonymous folder appeared online. Bellamy Gala Internal. Inside, email threads, expense reports, grant fund misappropriations, Chloe's signature on invoices for consultants that didn't exist. Someone had leaked the skeletons. And it wasn't me. It was probably Jeffrey Barnes, or someone like him who finally lit the match. I didn't need to fight. I just needed to stand still and let their own fire find oxygen. The morning after, my mother's 12th voicemail was softer, almost pleading. "Please, Nora. They're talking investigation. You can stop this." I pressed play. Then delete. When I was 17, I used to scribble my name over and over again in the margins of my notebooks, just to remember it was mine. Nora Elise Bellamy. Not that girl. Not the one we don't talk about. Not a line to be deleted with a red pen. Just me. 9 years later, I trademarked it. The Nora Fund. Not Bellamy. Not in partnership with. Just Nora. A non-profit for girls erased by their families. Kicked out, cut off, forgotten. Our website went live exactly 1 week after the gala. I didn't take their board seat. Didn't respond to their press release about internal realignment. Didn't answer the family lawyer's call offering a revised trust. I didn't want their seat. I wanted the silence that followed my name to finally feel like power, not punishment. I bought back my grandmother's cottage. Not as a Bellamy heir, but as a private citizen. I wore her pearls to our first scholarship event. Gave them to a girl named Jada when she graduated from our program. She called me Ms. Bellamy. I smiled and shook my head. Just Nora. That's what they never understood. I didn't want the throne. I didn't need their applause in marble rooms. I just wanted my voice back. Now that I had it, I didn't need to shout. I could whisper, and the walls would still remember. Some nights, I still wake up thinking I'm 17. That if I knock on the kitchen door, someone will answer. But they don't. And that's okay. Because I no longer need the door to be open. I built another. Last week, I gave a talk at a small university. Nothing grand. Just a modest auditorium with folding chairs and girls who took notes like their lives depended on it. One raised her hand, her voice trembling. "How did you forgive them?" I paused. Then told the truth. I didn't. I just stopped asking them to explain who I am. That was always the problem. I was too loud to be obedient. Too quiet to be listened to. Too inconvenient to keep around. So they told a story where I didn't exist. And I let them, for a while. But silence has an expiration date. Mine came dressed in navy blue, standing beneath a chandelier, holding a document they thought would stay buried forever. They called me bitter. Then they called me bold. But they never called me by my name. Not until I forced them to read it aloud. So here it is. My name is Nora Elise Bellamy. And this was the final word they never thought I'd speak. They erased me. So I returned with the final word.